Hello and welcome back to another installment of the Bethany Sports Beat. And as you can tell by the visuals behind me, basketball season indeed underway here at Bethany. And while the men are practicing right now, the women will be gearing up a little bit. But before they hit the practice floor, we thought we'd catch the women's basketball coach at Bethany, Lyle, to kind of get an idea about where they're at right on the cusp of the season. They actually get underway in a little over a week, middle of November with their first game. Roster got bigger for you this year, and if you look at the roster, a pretty big transformation as far as players that you've worked with now the past couple of years. But I know early on here, you guys still dealing with a little bit of the injury bug and things like that. So it's a good thing the roster got bigger, but how do you as a coach and the coaching staff try to compensate that for the fact you're bringing in so many new players, just kind of getting everybody to try to gel and things like that?
Well, it's a little easier when they're healthy because you can get in them a lot of different drills where we're really working with them individually and collectively. But now with the injuries, they're getting next to the drills and watching the drills. In a few weeks, we're going to start to see some of those young ladies back into the system. We have some coming in from volleyball, and so we do a lot of review and getting them into the game that way.
Well, your team, of course, last year kind of finished right in the middle of the pack of the UMAC conference. That's where you're anticipated to finish this year as well. I know a lot of people that were aware of the success of your team last year certainly focused the attention on Bria Branson. She's a great person to start around as far as just that continuity and the leadership that she provided you, on the court a year ago.
She's a great leader. She's got a motor that doesn't stop. And for her size, I think she averaged well over 10 rebounds per game, many double-doubles that we had out of her. She's providing the leadership right now in the beginning of the season and getting the girls focused on what we really need to do. So it's going to be fun watching her progress through her senior year and having a great time.
For other people who might be new to the program as far as coming and watching Bethany, who are they going to be able over maybe about the first month of the season? Who are they going to focus on? It's like maybe they won't know them now, but if you keep track of Bethany women's basketball, these are going to be the names that are going to show up pretty consistently as far as on the statistical leader.
Well, I think there's going to be hopefully quite a few, Don. Minnie Fredericks is going to be one that people are going to see right away. I mean, she's an extremely quick player, a transfer from Detroit Mercy. Christina Wilkinson from Hibbing Community College transferred in, very quick perimeter player. Alex Ford at our post player, you're going to see a lot out of her. And then we have a player coming back off a bad knee injury from last year, Dakota Ellinghusen, she's cleared to practice, and she's just getting better every day in practice. In fact, she scrimmaged and she looked pretty good. And we think that she's going to be right back to where she was last year when we start our first game. So we're looking forward to all those players contributing. And then another freshman would be Haley Senden from Princeton, who I think that's going to be one that a lot of people are going to be looking at later. She's just a great three-point shooter and very quick defensively and really will round us out on that end of it.
So your team, the trademark, going to be one of these teams. It sounds like a lot of perimeter players, some people obviously getting up and down the court. And of course, your teams have always been noted for the intensity on the defensive side too.
Yeah, this year it's going to be fun because we're going to really open it up a little bit more. We got the personnel to do that with, getting up and down the floor and doing some scoring and some quick scoring too off our primary breaks. And then defensively, gradually as we get through the season, we'll be instituting or putting in a really stiffer press than what we had last year. So by mid-season, you're going to see a pretty fast team, both offensively and defensively.
Maybe fans, media make too much of this, but obviously if people keep track of women's basketball, there's some rule changes this year that I don't know your thoughts on the idea of going from what used to be halves to quarters, and now there's no more one-and-one. It's just everybody, if you get 5 fouls in a quarter as a team, you're going to be shooting 2 free throws. Are you a fan of these changes, or what are your thoughts on it?
I'm going to give it some time to get into it, but I do like the half situation because teams with the momentum, you can almost get coaches that they're going to have to call timeouts. And in a 10-minute quarter system, one's coming up right at the end of the quarter. You get about 70-second timeout, maybe 60 if your team gets over quick and gets out. So, it's going to be interesting to see how that all plays out with the quarter system. You get a little bit more rest than you do in the half situations.
Yeah, I know your team, as far as looking on paper here, preseason polls, you guys are expected to finish 6th in the UMAC. I don't know if you feel that's a fair assessment. I think you kind of like the spot that you're there. You might sneak up on a few people, but if you look at the top of that, boy, you're going to see Superior, you're going to see Northwestern, you're going to see Morris, 3 very strong programs.
They're very strong, and I think most of the coaches that look at those polls is just that. I think most of the coaches would look at us last year and say, we better watch out for them. I mean, There was at least 4 games we were ahead with 4 to 5 minutes to go, which would have probably, if we won those, would have put us in 2nd or 3rd place. So they are what they are. And I know the top 3 teams, UW Superior won the WIAC this year, so they're going to be, they have the crosshairs on their back, which is good. And everyone's going to be shooting for them. And I think we've got a good chance at being in those top 2 places.
Last question for you. You mentioned last year and the fact that you had about 4 games where literally that was in your grasp and you kind of let it get away. Is that just a process of learning how to win to finish games? Is it a veteran seniority, or how do you try to deal with that?
You know, a lot of it has to do with the veteran seniority and just being there, you know, maybe in years past and being in that situation. But also I think it has to deal with some talent too. And this year I know our freshman class is very talented. Hopefully we won't be in those situations when we're ahead. We'll just stay ahead. So that's kind of where we're at on that.
Very good. Well, we'll make sure to follow the track of the Bethany women's basketball team all season long. We invite you to keep coming back to VLCVikings.com here on the Bethany Sports Beat.